Good morning, CPA. I see our counts doubling, tripling exponentially as you all make your way into our 2024 CPA Summit. We are delighted to have you here with us this morning on this cloudy day in the Baltimore region, at least. Um, we have some amazing content for you today from some of our partners, really hot topics, things that are really important trends that are going on in our profession. I'm really excited to start this morning with an amazing panel discussion. But as you are getting into the meeting, I'm going to go ahead and change the next slide and ask you to join our conferences IO. We will be doing some polling as usual. This is kind of taking place of our annual or our monthly town hall this month. So we'll have those questions that I know you've become accustomed to. The first one, as we always like to do, is our positive focus. So I'd love to hear from you all, and I'll ask our panelists to be thinking too. Ways. I know for some people that's a really great thing. 2024 wasn't maybe the best year, but lots of exciting things, new things. I'm seeing some Disney trips. Somebody retired. Congratulations. Um, Somebody got married. Somebody's retiring in 14 days. Congratulations. You're almost there. New jobs. Just made it through. Sometimes that's what we need to celebrate, right? Cruise to Greece. Wow, I'm so jealous of that. That Greece is like on my bucket list. I was just talking with one of our members actually this weekend. We happened to go to the same church about Greece, and Greek food is by far have that positive focus to have our brains rewired and ready to learn, really, to have that energy. So I'll keep us moving and see who we have on our summit today. I know I'm going to have to make this a little bit bigger so that you all can hopefully see it. I know it's a little small still. We have the horse race is on, and let's see. A lot of private company, government, not-for-profit folks joining us today, which is awesome. Welcome. So glad you could be here. Of course, we have our public accounting folks as well. And I guess you got to kind of add all those boxes together to really see the whole breadth of the public accounting part of our profession that runs from sole practitioners to, billion-dollar and multi-thousand numbers of employees. So such an amazing profession that we work in, that all of these roles are possible. And I tell you, when I talk with students, this is the thing that they really gravitate to the most. I think it's the most misunderstood. They don't understand that they can literally work anywhere in this profession. But grateful to have you all with us today from all the different areas of our great profession. And then your position or level at work. We tend to see a pretty high level team member as an MACPA member engaged in some of our events like the summit. And so we'd love to see whether you're a professional, an individual contributor, or you're in the C-suite. We are grateful that you are here to learn with us and to grow and thrive in this ever-changing world and profession. And then the last question, we've been asking a lot every month, and we really track these and see how they shift. But what are your top three professional challenges? What's going on? What's getting in the way? Where might there be opportunity, both for you and your career, but also for the MACPA to really provide value to you? And so we'll watch these kind of go all around, and we'll see where it shakes out. Like we only have about 1% other, so that means we're doing a good job, getting the list of challenges for you all. Oh, as soon as I said it, I knew it would change. 2% other. I'm going to go ahead and unlock the poll of if you had another, or you have a friend that has an other, that you think the MACPA should know about, a challenge that you're facing that you want us to be able to provide some value on. Please put that in there so we can update this poll. But it looks like it's calmed down. Those top three right there, still all about talent, both the skill set of our team and ourselves, right? The need for new skills, maintaining culture and managing a hybrid workforce. It's still something that we all struggle with, trying to figure out that balance, and then just finding talent, still up there pretty high. And then we go into technology, Gen AI, digital transformation, and not surprising, and why we've put together the summit with some of the topics that we have, and why we do a lot what we do at MACPA to bring value, to bring community, to bring answers and resources to you in these challenges. With that, I would like to introduce our panelists for our opening session. Really grateful to have four of our preferred providers here at MACPA, and they're preferred providers that we use at MACPA. We are customers of each of these organizations too, and so I just think that's really important as we partner with people that we believe in what they're doing, and what they are bringing to the marketplace in terms of resources, technology, things like that. So I'm going to ask each of the panelists to just briefly introduce themselves. I'll call on you each, and then if you had your best of 2024 that you would want to share with the audience, we'd love to hear that as well. So I'll start with Max at ADP, a product lead of data solutions. Max.
Thanks, Rebecca. Pleasure to be here this morning. 14 years at ADP in the human capital management space, and my sole role is to work with our data science team, our anonymization aggregation process of all of the analytics, dashboards, benchmarks that we provide to our clients, and then also our newest, latest, and greatest generative AI tool, which is called ADP Assist. So there's a breakout session after this, and I'll talk a little bit more about generative AI within human capital management and how it has the ability to be able to help us do things much more faster, much more effectively, and at scale. So really excited to be here with you all today. I don't necessarily know if I've got a best. I've got a best for 2024, but I'm right now living with our family in an Airbnb because we had a massive flood. And it's around the holidays, and it's been a little bit of a juggle, but we just take it in stride. There's a silver lining to everything. It's been more comical than anything else to have, 2 kids under 12 and 2 dogs, just, back and forth in a couple of Airbnbs over the last couple of months. So interesting times for sure, but happy holidays to all the folks out there and excited to be here. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Max, and our prayers are with you that all of those repairs and things can happen. Wow, but grateful for Airbnbs, like not something that
That's right.
existed easily, a decade or two ago. So it's amazing
Yep.
that we have technology-wise has really changed. Next, we have Robert Albertini, which probably looks familiar to several of you. Robert, great friend with Aon.
And hello, everyone. Good morning. Not as exciting as Max's 2024, and hopefully it gets better for you in 2025, Max. But I'm Robert Albertini with Aon AI CPA Insurance Programs, and I've been working here for a little bit over 25 years, believe it or not. So I'm focusing solely helping the MACPA members and the countrywide CPAs with professional liability, and that has changed over the last few years. Management liability has been a great concern for CPA firms as well since COVID. And we're going to probably touch on this as well. Cybersecurity with the emergence of AI. It's been a large worry for a lot of our owners and managing partners, let's say within the last 15 to 20 years. So I'm glad to meet everyone here and be part of the panel discussion. Thank you, Rebecca, and the MACPA members. And yeah, just wanted to go ahead and have wish everyone a healthy and wealthy, of course, 2025. Thank you.
Love that addition of the wealthy. We appreciate that, Robert. Next, we have Todd Cooper with CPA.com. Amazing digital CPA event last week. Todd, welcome. Thank you for being here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Longtime partner of the Maryland Association of CPAs, so I'm very grateful to be here. I am the director of channels here at CPA.com, so I work with most of our extended partner network that we have. This is my 25th year in the profession. Prior to joining CPA.com, I ran the revenue organizations for some of the largest software companies in our profession. And I guess my best of 24 was I was able to live a lifelong dream of going marlin fishing for the first time. And it was a fantastic early birthday present from my wonderful wife. And I will forever be grateful for her doing that. So it was a great experience.
That's amazing. Great, lifelong, bucket list thing. Wow, very cool. And last but certainly not least, we are excited to have our newest preferred provider, a tool that I use weekly now at MACPA, Ramp, and Ed Ween. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Uh, Good morning, Rebecca, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me today. So I'm Edwin Alphonse. I'm the senior controller at Ramp. I've been with Ramp for like 4 years now, and I was the first accountant, and I built the accounting team, the accounting processes at Ramp. So my career started at Big Four. I worked for EY and PwC for 10 years. And then after that, I focused in building like high-performing team at various different startups. At Ramp, we provide the best-in-class finance automation and spend management platform. And we're always excited to help anyone, any companies like grow, just like provide like better software for accountants so they can do their best work.
Thank you, Edwin, for joining us.
Oh, best in class, best for 2024.
Yes.
I was able to travel with my parents. So my parents, they live in Canada. I'm from Canada. And we went to Panama. So that was like a really good trip with my parents and my kids. So that was like one really like good memory for everyone.
That's awesome. That's great. Multi-generation vacation. I love it. Love it. Well, as we get into our panel discussion, I wanted to set a little context for kind of the structure, right? There is a lot going on in the profession, in the world, in the business world in particular. And several years ago, it's probably been about 7, maybe years ago, the MACPA embarked on a journey to become more anticipatory. And we did that with a futurist named Daniel Burrus. And one of the things we learned from him was how to categorize trends, right? Because you could get swept away or go down the rabbit hole of the internet pretty fast with trends and things that are happening. But hard trends, he says, are ones that you can have a little bit more certainty in. There's a greater degree of certainty and therefore a little less risk when you base strategy on them versus soft trends, things like gas prices, home costs, things like that are more variable. And so while you want to have them in your viewpoint and certainly consider them, maybe not all your strategy is built into them. And as we looked at our challenges that the profession is facing, I like to kind of put our challenges kind of in these buckets as well, whether it's regulation, demographics, or technology. These are the things that our profession is being reshaped by every day. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and so you can see all of our awesome panelists, and we're going to kind of get started with the category, the hard trend category of government regulation. Now, I know we could probably spend 8 hours or more on just this topic, and we could get real technical real fast. But government regulation in our profession have this love-hate relationship, right? In a lot of ways, it keeps us in business, provides us new service lines to have, and then also causes a whole lot of stress and pressure. And certainly, this year in particular, in this time when we're in this unique transition of leadership in our country, there's a lot more uncertainty and noise in the system as well. But I really wanted to think about for our panelists, what are you seeing? What are you anticipating? Or what are you in your organizations really preparing for that you would think the audience, our CPA members, you saw the demographics, really should know, think, or do because of what the seat that you're sitting in? And I'd ask whoever's ready to start.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I'm sorry, Robert, I'll go
No,
ahead.
go ahead, please.
I think from our perspective at CPA.com and obviously from the AICPA's perspective, we're looking at, first of all, I'm going to preface this by saying everything is subject to change. We all know, like, especially from a federal level, that there are things that, the new incoming administration may have, their particular way of doing things. But we're really keeping our eye on the evolving category of ESG, right? I mean, the reporting and assurance there's an increasing global emphasis. So, you may have customers here in the US that may be doing business in other countries. So these are things that you need to keep an eye on. Sustainability reporting, how does that affect the insurance aspect of our profession? Technology and data privacy, that's really a bipartisan issue, especially when you consider bringing AI into that. We do feel that eventually there are going to be some regulations trying to harness some, areas around AI, its applicable use, all of those types of things. Like I said before, I mean, that's a bipartisan issue. This is still an unknown. It's developing so rapidly that every time, we just left our digital CPA conference, as you mentioned, and I bet, things have changed in the 5 days that conference was over. It's moving so fast. So we're keeping an eye on that. And then, of course, from, a federal level, I think most of the people on this call know that, the TCJA has, some things that are coming up in 2025. The one thing I can guarantee is there will be a change to tax legislation, at some point in 2025. So we'll be wanting to keep our eye on that and make sure we're keeping our ear to the ground and trying to inform the profession as quickly and as best as we possibly can. So I know that was a lot to cover, but those are some of the things we're keeping our eye on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone else would like to add? That was a great
Yeah.
overview, Rob.
I'd like to jump in, just as we all know, as Todd has mentioned, the economy plays a pretty big role, right? And when regulatory changes and such things change in our life because of evolution, business transforms. And so you got accounting regulations that are being altered, and we spoke about a checklist about a couple of days ago, right, Rebecca? And there isn't a checklist on this because we would have to probably create one weekly or probably monthly, like Todd mentioned. So, but regulatory compliance is such a big role in public audit now, and the PCAOB is being more stricter, and they're trickling down this stuff to, reviews and compliance rules down to smaller firms. Some of the people that are on this call may be even affected by it, but by keeping like new QC standards in the profession, that's always big, and that's a whole a major topic right there. But the major concern, and we've seen this with the BOI, is hot topic. The hot topic is fraud, period. I mean, it's a great big push for it now because they're trying to check, the PCAOB fraud radar is always up, obviously, but CPA firms and, they face like routine professional liability claims, and clients, have sometimes called in requests for a claim for that. But so the BOI has the Corporate Transparency Act, and that's a whole new we could talk another 24 hours on this for sure. But yeah, so the regulation and compliance of that piece, because FinCEN is trying to look out for fraud, money laundering, and embezzlement. So that continues. So but yeah, if there's any questions that anyone may have on that, I'd be more than happy to help. So because there's been some changes in recent weeks. So
Absolutely. Even this last week, last 7 days with the ruling in Texas, and then what does that mean? Do I need to file? We did put some resources,
yep,
particularly in BOI. I know Robert has a sample engagement letter too, if you are
that's
doing
correct.
this. So those are down in the materials, and so just highlight that as well. I know we have that we're just talking about one area of trends, right? And we have two more. And if I'm honest, and I think about the professional issues updates that I've done over the last 3 years, the majority of them aren't in that government regulation, which is huge and we could spend days on, but it's in these next two areas. So I'm going to keep us moving to technology. Gosh, we could spend probably 3 days here talking about technology. Um, so disruptive, but sometimes in the best way, sometimes in a scary way, to our profession and the business environment. What emerging technologies, digital tools, what are you all seeing that are really transforming the profession that maybe, Edwin, I'm thinking of you in particular, being in a startup environment, even in previous roles. What are you seeing that our members should be aware of or kind of have a pulse on?
So of course, AI, everyone is talking about AI. I do think it's really important for the accounting profession to embrace AI. Right now in my team, we use GPT, we use Claude, and we also use RAP. And RAP as a platform allows us to do like spend management automation like quickly. I think in the accounting profession, if you're looking at accounts payables, accounts receivable, this line of businesses, these processes are going to be fully automated, either with AI, either with other tools. In financial reporting, like data analytics, like data mining is being extremely important now. And it's giving accountants the opportunity to level up. Like rather than just being like all about debit credits, people can take the time now to be like really like storytellers. They can provide better insight with these tools now. And I think this is something that's extremely valuable for the accounting profession.
I love how you said that. It's not necessarily just the tools themselves, which are great and we need to figure out, but what does it enable us to do with that maybe extra time, right? It's not go get more clients or do more, it's storytelling. It's more human kind of skill set that we're getting able to do because of that. Max, I know you are working in the data analytics and AI of human capital, which sometimes we think of those two things as kind of butting heads, maybe not being the same. But how are you seeing technology really transform that area?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you hit it on already, right? Like if you would have asked me 15, 20 years ago if I would ever imagine leveraging a third party like Airbnb to get me squared away with an issue that happened at my house, I would have told you you're nuts, right? I think I was fortunate to be able to grow up, right, in the years of, I remember being on my mom's phone and walking around the corner into the living room and the dining room on a cord and a tether still to the phone, right? If you told me like 20 years ago we'd be using a phone with no buttons on it, I would tell you that you're nuts. So, I think about your clients, I think about organizations, and I think that there was always this wait and see mentality with new technology, new compliance, and new trends. And I will say that with generative AI, there's no doubt it's going to allow us to do things much faster, much more effectively, and at scale. And it's kind of one of those like lean in or get left behind, right? I think that wait and see mentality may not be the most sustainable moving forward. And it's like charting a course, right? You obviously need to have data, you need to have insights into the good and the not so good that's happening within your organization. I think what generative AI gives us the ability to do is proactively notify those practitioners and executives within an organization of what is happening within the organization through the data and allowing them to take action, whether that's on attracting the best people or retaining the best people or upskilling their individuals. So sky's the limit. with where we're going with Gen AI and technology. And again, I think that, getting individuals to lean in sooner than later is, I think, going to be key.
Absolutely. Yeah. Lean in. I like that 2-word advice for 2025, right? Todd, CPA.com is the technology arm of the AI CPA, right? And you've done some fantastic research and work on a lot of these things, digital CPA, coming off of that last week. What are you seeing in particular that we should be noticing, paying attention to?
I think not to revisit, because I think it's been almost 4 or 5 years since the pandemic happened. But I think the real catalyst for this is the shift that happened, whether you are in corporate accounting and finance and you're answering to internal business partners, or you're in public accounting and you're answering to clients. The real shift happened when they asked us to almost look into a crystal ball. We were very accustomed in this profession of we were very good at analyzing what happened in the past, but now it's the expectations that those internal business partners and our clients have for us is to tell me what's going to happen. Here's where the business or my business is today. Here's where I want it to be 3 years from now. You tell me everything I need to do to get there. And thankfully, this technology is coming along at this time when we need it, because the expectations of those, people that we answer to have changed, right? So it's really that shift from, the transactional work to more of the higher value strategic ad things that we're doing. So it's, automating repetitive tasks. How do we get those things done so we can spend that more time, like Edwin talked about earlier, to be able to provide that type of information to those people. So lots of things are changing from, bookkeeping to AP to AR to, risk management, moving into predictive analytics, scenario planning, all of those things that we talked about. That's where we're really seeing the technology that's being invested into this profession. That's the area of focus that they're spending a lot of time on. And the good news is I have never seen so many new technology companies come into this profession as I have over the last few years. And I've been doing it a long time. And that's great. It's fantastic. But how do you know where to start? And I think that's every individual's prerogative for them to pick one area and try and focus on that without just being overwhelmed with a wave of this. Take it one step at a time.
That's great advice, Todd, because it can certainly be overwhelming.
I will add one thing. I think we've not talking about that. It's blockchain technology for accountants and auditors. Like, this is an area that we've been having for a long time, but with the previous administration, it was extremely hard to focus on crypto and blockchain. I think in the coming years, you're going to see more emphasis on the blockchain, especially for accounting in terms of like data verification, in terms of like SWOT contract implementation, and just like even in fraud analytics as well. So that's technology that's going to hopefully revolutionize accounting as well.
That's a
Really
good point. It was siloed for so long, right? Like a particular service line. It could be, well, there's a new technology for assurance, there's a new technology for tax, there's a new technology for, accounting and finance. And now it's kind of all encompassing for a lot of those different areas. And there's new technology coming out in all of those. So it's a challenge to stay abreast of what's happening.
And I love that you brought up blockchain, because I remember probably 8 years ago, we were all talking blockchain. And then we kind of, the trough of disillusionment, I believe, is the term
Right.
from Gartner of the hype scale, right? It gets a whole lot of hype, and then we kind of go through this phase. And as I have studied some of these things, especially Gartner's kind of their reports on this, watching technology go through that cycle, it seems to be going through the cycle faster. Gen AI, ChatGPT, certainly one of those that just kind of rocketed through to the, innovators are using it, to the everyday people are using it. And it's an interesting dynamic there of, you can't lose sight completely of something that isn't perfect yet, because it will just take a little bit of time and it will be back. So I know when we were first talking about blockchain, it was this like pie in the sky, like that's not possible. But now, again, maybe the area or the time is ripe for something like that. Robert, I'm going to go to you, because we've talked a lot about new technologies and all these capabilities. And I know, especially when we think of Gen AI, the first question I get, but the risk, I can't put my stuff in Chat GPT or I can't do this. So what is the insurance kind of response or the risk part to some of these amazing technologies that definitely have a downside if you look at the full picture?
I think every underwriter at every cyber company and, I guess professional liability writer, I just envision like Rodney Dangerfield with that like tie and he's sweating and he's like, they don't know what the rise of this automation AI is going to do. It's a scary one, right? So my thought is that we have to prepare for such an advancement in this stuff and, really speak to your IT professionals. I mean, right now, CPAs may know more than their IT professional on this AI stuff. But like Tom mentioned, there's been so many more technology companies. I mean, when I went to Engage back in June, there was private equity and technology companies all over the place. So yeah, so like you mentioned, ChatGPT, for example, this Gen AI tool, its popularity soared. It went through the roof, right? So it made it through the public. I mean, little kids are using this stuff on how to reply back to text messages for their moms and dads, So yeah, so it's the speed, the versatility, the engaging in like human life conversations. It's doing so well, but there's always risk with this because you're putting this information in this like AI or Gen AI vendor per se, and one is confidentiality. So it's a large amount of financial. CPAs are using it for financial reasons and personal information, and we always tell our clients, hey, make sure you have some sort of policy in place, which restricts or may even like enhance the way that you use your Gen AI tool for your firm. So data privacy is probably the top priority because you're putting this information in, and we don't know where it's going, right? So there's a lot of vendors out there, and I know I mean, every time I speak to a client, they're talking about this, their cyber policy, and I also did give some sort of template on the cyber supplement that we use for our malpractice through our carrier. And it's a very simple form to complete. And I always tell my clients, if this is like a tool to benefit and help you with the proper controls in place. So that's really what it is. So you have to do your due diligence with this and try to help protect this data that's going into this. So most importantly, you have to have some sort of risk transfer, which is the transfer of risk to this cyber policy or professional liability claim, if you ever do have one. But yeah, keep in mind that all these Gen I tools are not all the same, and they lack sometimes understanding and context to that. So yeah, that's my spin on it. But there's more to come for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know, Robert, you provided a link to I think it's CPA Net, I believe, the cyber add-on. Yeah. But if I had to like maybe sum up what the conversation we just had on technology, it's lean in carefully. If that, how does that sound? You can't afford to lean back. You can't afford to ignore, but you got to do so really carefully. Any last thoughts on technology before we move into demographics and the talent issue that our challenge our profession is facing?
Yeah, I think Tom made a great point that like only one way to to eat elephant, right? One bite at a time. And this is a big, big initiative in technology, a lot of moving parts. So I would say as you think about creating, these like councils or subcommittees within your organization, along with IT and individuals who have a technologically like savvy or experience or background to think about your organization and what your strategy is going to be, like starting that process sooner than later to start to educate yourself. And for your specific industry, obviously how this will have the biggest impact on what we do day in and day out to, again, make sure that we're doing it in a ethically responsible way as well.
So can't be siloed. This isn't something to, a memo to send to your IT director. Hey, make sure you're doing this. Like this is a team effort. I love that kind of task force or group of people mentality.
If I may add, Rebecca, sorry, just on the point of a managing partner or a firm owner, make sure training and monitoring your employees and having that oversight with that policy. Just one last piece of advice. And if you have any questions, consult your IT professional or consult with counsel, because there's a lot of privacy laws that that you're doing in your state that may not be applicable for other states too. So one is transcribing. So that's another piece of it. So
That's a good point. These things, all of these trend areas kind of go like this, right? We've already talked about cyber around the government regulation, where that's going to come in, AI legislation, things like that. Todd, it looked like you were about to say something.
Yeah, just two last quick things. Number one, it kind of goes on the back of what Robert has. If you're going to use this, make sure you have an acceptable use policy, right? I think we've kind of covered that. And number two, MACBA has been a fantastic partner in sharing this, but we're talking, a lot of times you hear people talk about this AI and how do we use it from a theoretical standpoint. But we do have, and you've shared it multiple times, we have a Gen AI toolkit. So you can go to CPA.com and then just look for the Gen AI toolkit. And what this does is it gives you practical examples as to how you can start using this in small areas and just kind of get your feet wet. So instead of just, being overwhelmed with this and where do I start, like what are some real life examples of how I can just slowly start to use this and gain an understanding and become more educated on how it's going to benefit either us in a corporate accounting and finance department or a corporate tax department or a public accounting firm.
Absolutely. And I'll just give a shout out for the rest of the day here at the CPA Summit, the other sessions that you're going to listen to. I mean, this is like high level panel discussion to kind of whet our appetite, but some really great practical applications for all of these areas of trends and challenges. Gen AI certainly being one of them. Diving a little bit deeper, and again, those amazing resources of our partners that are out there, utilize them. So as we move to demographics and talent, I will tell you, I never thought I would talk about talent as much as I have, especially in the last 2 years. Just the addressing the talent shortages, maybe just one bucket. We can talk about that. But then the changing expectations of the workforce, right? I think the pandemic certainly played a huge role in that. And just the changing business model that we're seeing, not just in firms, but inside of corporate finance teams, and that need for upskilling, the amount of extra stuff that kind of gets piled onto that CFO role. So I guess I'll start with that changing workforce expectations. What are you all seeing? Max, maybe I'll start with you working in the talent space, that as employers, potentially, we really need to pay attention to.
Yeah, I would say that, for a lot of the large firms like the Aons and, the Willises, and a lot of the client feedback over this past year is that turnover is up. So while you're still losing individuals, right? Like, so the retention and the attraction strategies start to kind of come together. And, I think that, as you think about just pay transparency and a lot of the regulation that makes it tough for employers, right, to bring in really good people, and having really good access to tools and benchmarks to be able to identify where they're going to focus their time and efforts, and having the data to be able to tell them, if I'm going to look for this type of individual, I know that I'm having most of my success on, Indeed or through Monster or through ZipRecruiter, right? So really having the insights to be able to determine as an organization, where are we getting our best people from, and being able to focus all of our time and efforts there. And having technology, as you think about profile relevancy, as you think about candidate relevancy, which is a generative AI type of technology, right? To be able to see across the workforce, who are individuals that are coming into our applicant funnel applying for specific positions that on paper, based off of licensing, certification, experience, and tenure, look most like the high potential employee that we currently have within our organization in that role, right? Because if we could replicate this individual that we have that's a top performer, low absenteeism, absolutely does a great job from a performance perspective, I'd love to find 5 or 6 more just like that person, right? To be able to bring in through the interview process, through the screening process. And then again, I think there's a lot of generative AI solutions and technologies, but it's never going to take away from human oversight. It's never going to take away from the human touch. It's ultimately going to ensure we're focusing our time and efforts on what's most important and what's happening within the organization, but there's still that human oversight from the organizational perspective, it's going to allow us to make sure that we're bringing in like the best people. So the talent landscape is crazy because you've got, like I said, the compensation aspect of it, you've got the succession aspect of it, you've got the learning aspect of it, you've got the cultural aspect of it. So it's a ever-changing landscape, and it's exciting, but definitely a massive undertaking for a lot of the HR finance practitioners that are out there for sure.
Absolutely. I guess I'll say who else has something they'd like to add to that? Like, what strategies are you seeing in terms of if I switch to just culture and that hybrid workforce that we're seeing and how you keep people engaged so that you don't have the turnover issue? Are there tools that you all are seeing or best practices?
I think for us at Ramp, like I do have a fully remote team.
Okay, well,
And it's been like extremely interesting, like managing them because they have high expectation and they are extremely clear about what they want. So it's important to be like offer that transparency to them.
Mm.
And it's important to give them a lot of independence and to also empower them.
Mm.
So my team, like they all over the US, I trust them that they can do their work, and I'm more focused on result rather than focus on task. Like the time of micromanaging like your team members, like this is not the time anymore.
There's
Like
huge shift.
exactly, like our workforce now, they expect to be trusted, they expect to be making decisions. And with automation, they're able to do that because they're not stuck in reporting task anymore. They're not stuck in categorization task anymore. And they have more time to level up. They have more time to have a voice. They have more time to also bring insight to the team. And they want to do that. One thing I've seen is just like right now, the young accountants, they know SQL, they know data analytics, and they're teaching me myself.
Yeah.
So they're really in touch with technology, and you need to give them the tools that they need to do their best work. If you don't give it to them, they ask for it and they lobby for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's extremely important to give them access to these tools and allow them to train themselves and allow them to train the rest of the company as well.
I love that reverse mentoring. So much of the profession and so much of business historically has been top down, and yet we can see that there's kind of some value in this, like, hey, they're using these tools in school, they're being taught them. What do you see? Sometimes, yeah, just asking and listening can make a huge difference.
I think from finding talent, it's changed a lot. I think a lot of the onus now falls on you as an organization to market yourself, to weed out the noise, because there is such a war on that talent. So, they may not be beating down your door like they did in the past. So you need to separate, yourself from, I think of like I'll use a sports analogy, but a five-star Division I football player that's getting recruited and they get offers from 100 different schools and they're constantly contacting them. And how do you, we want you to come here. So how are you separating through the noise to attract the talent that you want and find that? And from a retention standpoint, I think it's become more critical than ever for the messaging to come top down, right? Like sharing what are the organization's strategic goals with everybody, right? When I started my career a long time ago, it was like, you just better be thankful you have a job here, right? Like you don't need to worry about what we're doing. You just do what I tell you to do. And this new generation is not like that. They're very inquisitive. They're asking questions, which I think is fantastic because they want to be a part of something and they want to know, why are we doing this? And quite frankly, if they ask you that question and you just say because, like a parent sometimes does, and you don't stop and think for a second, well, that's a really good question. Like, why are we doing this? I don't know. And the answer better not be because it's the way we've always done it. That better not be the answer because that just doesn't cut it anymore. So I think, you really need to, almost get to the point where it's oversharing and making sure that everybody is on board, because if they're remote or they're hybrid or whatever the case may be, they want to feel like they're a part of something and they're making a difference. So that oversharing, I think, has become more critical than ever.
That recruiting aspect I love because it's so true. You think of, I'm a huge college football fan, and you think of once you get that 5-star, 4-star recruit as a freshman, the recruiting process isn't over, right? We
No.
saw I think 2 or 3 of the Heisman candidates had been at 3 different schools
Right.
during their career, and so it's a continual process. Retention just as important as recruitment. I want to move us to kind of closing thoughts. We have about 5 minutes left. What one piece of advice in the swirl of trends and challenges would you leave this group of members with? As they think about going into 2025, maybe it's their, goal for the year or something like that. What one piece of advice? Robert, I'll start with you.
Yeah. And I just want to go back to that last point because I wanted to say the days of CPA firms or owners of a company going to their fax machine on a Monday morning and seeing all the resumes there line up are gone. Those days are gone, right? So maybe now you're getting through email or whatever. But no, the most important thing, which I believe that CPAs should be doing and striving is keep doing what you're doing because you're doing something right. And whether it's working for your firm or not, I say keep doing it. Focus on what matters for your firm to strive because there's a lot of managing partners out there that are just rainmakers. They're just, they'll meet a client and they'll span it from there. I get applications here all the time and revenues for CPA firms. And I keep telling my daughters this, but they don't want to be CPAs or accountants. Revenues are going like this. I don't really see them dip that much, but turn your attention to quality work, strive, using engagement letters, keep leading with integrity. I mean, the CPA profession has changed. Everybody's talking about, is there going to be an accountant in the few years? Yes, there will be. It has to be. I mean, there's a lot that's changed in the last 10 years, and there's a lot that's going to change in the next 10 years to come. So bring your skills, that fiduciary role that your clients are asking to place you in. There's a lot of challenges, but navigating through that, you'll be fine. So, and most importantly, have a good Christmas holiday. So.
Max, I'll go to you next.
Yeah, I think, as you think about Gen AI, you got to start with data. And if you have clients or yourself and you're not appropriately leveraging the data you have access to, it's just like going into a game and not having any type of game plan, right? And that's what data gives us, right? It's just the ability to be able to, again, help us identify where as an organization, like we need to take action and garbage in, garbage out, right? So bad data in, bad data out. So really ensure good, clean, quality data first, and then start to dip your toe into this Gen AI landscape because, as you think about Gen AI and obviously what's most important, ensuring accuracy in the response, like it's a very deep and very specific data set that's going to ultimately get you the response and the insight that you need. So lean in, or what was it you said, Rebecca? Not lean in or get left behind,
Leaning
lean
carefully.
in or
Leaning carefully.
That's it. Yes, lean in carefully. I like that.
Don't dive head first, see what's the environment.
Into the shallow end, right?
Yes. Edwin, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I think now is the time of opportunities for all accountants and CPAs. I know we have an accounting shortage. Like I know we have a lot of challenges, but it is the time of opportunity. So we have to be extremely intentional about the tools that we're adopting, about the training we're getting, about the decision we're making, we're recruiting. So it might be challenging. Like there's so many new technology, news, new government and everything, but it is the best time now to be an accountant.
Absolutely.
And we need to embrace all the technology and embrace the change in demographics so we can level up. And now is the best time to be an accountant. That's how I feel about it.
I love that hope for the end of the year and into next year, right? Every challenge just being a frustrated opportunity. So finding the opportunity in the challenge, in the trend. Todd, we'll close up with you.
Sure. I would say don't ever miss the opportunity to tell anybody how awesome this profession is. I really do believe that it's the greatest profession in the world. It's fantastic, and don't ever miss an opportunity to tell somebody that. But most of all the three things that we talked about, whether it's, advancements in technology, regulatory changing, the demographics, that you need to be aware of from retention and recruitment, all of this is going to require continuous upskilling. And I saw that was the first,
Yeah.
box that came up of, what areas of focus do we want to, and that's just the reality. So, the pace of change in all of those areas is the slowest that it's going to be today as we're all sitting here talking to each other. By the end of the day today, it's going to be faster than it was this morning, and tomorrow's going to be even faster. So don't be overwhelmed. Focus on your upskilling and what you need to do and keep rocking it. This is a fantastic profession.
I love that notion of never miss an opportunity to share the amazing profession that we get to serve. Certainly there are challenges. Certainly there are hard things. There are in any profession. But as our CPA Purpose campaign that we've been working on for the last, I guess, almost year now. It started at our board planning last year in December. This profession is a tremendous one, full of opportunity, full of exciting changes, and we get the ability to work inside it and work alongside it, and to promote it and to really uphold the economy and society. And it's the language of business, and so it's certainly not going anywhere. We're going to transition now to more of sessions, but man, we have an amazing agenda for you all today. If this whet your appetite or you thought, I want to hear more about that, I have good news. We have more. So I'm going to end this one and we're going to move into our next session, but we'll see you in the next session. Thank you all so much for joining us.